Hi everyone, welcome to Swahili Nation Network. It's been a week since we had a conversation last week, and we're back again to continue to discuss about changing Africa and African unity and to create a great One Africa together. Uh, so we're going to continue with the conversation that we started last week, and I would like to just start everything with prayer, and I would like to, let's just do by prayer first. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the whole week, for our safety, for our health, and everything. We thank you that you kept us so passionate and dedicated and committed for this cause that you have embedded inside us. And may you bless our ideas and give us a common ground. In the name of Jesus, we pray all this. Amen. So to give you a recap of last week's event, basically we talked about lots of ideas related to change. Mika was talking about change, I was talking about change, and this was the show that we started last Thursday, and then we kept on going with the ideas of change. So just to give you a quick highlight and a recap, I'll just share the same slides that I have been working on, and I would like to recap on those, and then we can go why change is necessary. So we have to work on that one. So change is very important. Change is crucial to our life, and even in day-to-day activities, change is very crucial. We need to understand that one, and understanding that one gives us an amazing opportunity to work on our lives. So changing Africa starts from changing ourselves. That's where I believe that the change actually should happen. So the change has to start from us, and then it has to go to the rest of the people. If I cannot change, then I'm expecting others to change. That's also a wrong perspective of change. Why are we still afraid of change? Why are we so obsessed with whatever we have right now, and then we're not willing to commit ourselves to change? So I just want to go through the slides, and we talked about the willpower, we talked about the steps of and the processes that needs to be done to go through change, and then also we talked about what we can do to change, and then change and be this change. And basically what the video of Mika was earlier about change. So basically that was one of the motivations that kept us all going, because I'm going to share Mika's video, and after that for 7 minutes we'll watch that video, and then we'll come back to my discussion. So for the slides, I'm gonna okay.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? I'm so glad to come back here, and for some reason today I feel this energy and I just want to talk about change, man. I posted something earlier today, and this is what I said. If you forget about everything, just remember this one thing, that sometimes you might not get to see the change you want unless you change. Insanity is doing the same thing while expecting a different result. You cannot see a different result if you keep doing the same thing. I was kind of like thinking about Africa and the things that we always talk about and we're struggling with. And you guys know that it's a lot of them. We can talk about leadership, corruption, economic dependence, tribalism. We can talk about all those issues. There's so many things that we're struggling with. And maybe you might be tired hearing all these issues all the time, but we have to talk about them. We have to address them. You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of people who do not know what Africa is going through. Wants to cover the issues that Africa is facing. And as the Swahili Nation One Africa, our job is to address them. Brutally be honest with ourselves in order to solve the problem. You cannot solve the issue if you don't know the source and what the problem is. The change that we expect to happen in our country, in our government, societies and communities and our companies, whatever the change that you want, even in your life when you go to a passion level, whatever the change you want to see, you have to know that you have to change. This is something that we act towards. If you want to see something change, then you have to change. Because sometimes the thing that you wanted to change is not an issue, but the issue is how you see it. And if you don't change your perspective, then you're going to keep seeing it negatively, right? That's how you will see it. So sometimes in order to change the situation and the negativity around you is by you becoming positive. If you become positive, you'll see it positive. Even if there's a negative things, but your mind will always direct you, will always elaborate things, will always lead you back to the positiveness, you know what I'm saying? Because that's where you are at the moment. And the change that we want to see in Africa, it can only happen if we change. So instead of sitting down here and talking about change, I will go out and actually be the change that Africa needs. Hashtag Proud Africa, right? It's very easy for people to complain, to give up, right? Because you don't have to put on effort. It's very easy to lose hope. It's very easy to do that, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to care. If you care much, you're going to get hurt. You don't want to love, because if you love much, you might be betrayed, you know what I'm saying? So it's better to be on the other side of negativity. It's very easy to be the side of negativity than positivity, because if you want to be in the side of positiveness, then you have to put on effort. And a lot of people these days, they don't want to put effort. So that's why they're giving up. But this is a message for you, that you're the only one who can change the situation. You can change it. I don't want to put God in this, because I believe that God has already given us ability and mind to think, to elaborate, and to do things. He already given us that. We already have permission. As long as you're alive, that means you still have a job to do, right? The day I die, that means I'm done. I'm finished, right? My mission is done. But as long as I'm alive, it's because I still have something to do. So you already have that permission. But how do you go out and work on that? How do you use the opportunity? Because life is an opportunity that God has given you. And how do you take advantage of that opportunity to actually bring about change? How do you do that? And that's the question that I want you guys to think about today. And if you can, let me know in the comment section. And when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about, there's a lot of things you don't like it, right? Well, you can change it. As long as you see the problem, you have a solution. Things that you don't like it, I mean, you cannot love anything, everything, you cannot like everything, but there are things that can be changed. And if there's something you don't like, you cannot keep complaining, because it's insane, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results, it's insanity. So you need to change. And how can you bring about change, right, to whatever situation that you see? So you can take perspective of your country, right? Things that you're struggling with. I love this one quote I saw on Twitter the other day, and I just had to retweet it because it was really well written. And she wrote this on her bio. She wrote, "Love for your country doesn't mean love for the president or for the leader. Ask yourself how you can contribute to your country." And it reminds me what, love for your people or for Africa, it doesn't mean that you have to love leader or whatever that disappoints you, because a lot of time we've been hiding under the shadow of, this government is not doing anything. There's so much corruption. No matter what we do, we're not going to be able to change. Well, love for your country doesn't mean that you have to love that leader who is screwing things up every single day. Ask yourself, how can you contribute? And it's kind of like I'm coming from that point of view, that how can you take advantage of the opportunity, the life you have, to bring about change? Because as long as you're alive, as long as you see there's issues, that means you have a solution. And you just need to figure out how can you figure out the solution. And our job here in Solution One Africa, it's actually to stir up the fire, right? You might say that you guys are talking too much for this and that, but our job is to remind each other, is to remind that, we actually bring about change. We might not bring the solution sometimes because we don't have solution to every issue that is going on, right? But you guys, you're happy because you guys are going through, we are going through, and when we come together as one Africa, think about it, talk about it, I'm telling you, there's high chance, and I'm confident 100% that we're going to bring about change. And that's why I want to reach you, university students, I want to reach you, all the students who will actually bring change to the next generation as soon as possible. So let me know, guys, in the comment section what you're thinking, what your idea, what your thoughts. And I think this will be an amazing time for you guys to motivate me as well and inspire me. So I'll be checking on your comments and maybe we'll come up with something. I appreciate it, guys. I love you. Be the change Africa needs. Love you.
So we've heard that video, we've started with prayer, and it's time to recap and revise what we discussed in the last week. And let's be the change that Africa actually needs right now. So my point being, change, and change. And we've discussed many things, many alternatives to change, and we've also been discussing the ideas of change and how to change, when to change, what to change. But the most important questions were raised during the Thursday meeting, and it was raised by Dr. Bemnet Zegeye, and she said, why change? That's today the question that I want to raise for everyone. Why do we really need to change? Is it important to change? Is it not? And if it is, why is One Africa important? Why is the change in Africa important? So we need to really ask ourselves why Africa and African unity is important. That's the question that I'll be raising today. Now we're going to go back to slides, and we're just going to revise the slides, and then after that we'll just go to add people and hit the questions and answers and the challenges, the debates. So so basically the slides were somehow like this. So I'm just gonna go through them and just try to show you some stuff to recap everything that we went through. So basically, change is beautiful, change is amazing, change is awesome, fabulous. Why don't we change then? Why are we stuck to the old ways and to the old system, to the old things that we know to do? We're not willing to improve and change the ways that we're doing things. So we really need to work on that one. So if you don't change, by Dr. Spencer Johnson, the book of Who Moved My Cheese, he says, if you do not change, you can become extinct. So I took some screenshots and I shared that with you, and also I shared having cheese makes you happy, having something that you value in your life makes you happy. Some of the values that you really need in your life, when you have them, they make you happy. And to have those cheese, you have to give up on the old beliefs and find a new way of achieving your goal, your dreams. So that's one of the things. So we talked about fear, how we can change, and one of the biggest things that challenges today and before and in the future also is going to be fear. So if we're still afraid, and then we don't feel good. If we're afraid, we won't feel good. So we need to let go of the fear that is holding us back. That's one thing that we need to ask ourselves: what's our deepest fear? What are we really afraid of? So we need to ask ourselves those questions, and then respond. Respond to our fears. Respond to our yeah. Respond to our questions at the same time. So, like I am trying to explain here, the questions that we really need to ask today is the why. Understanding the why will help us understanding what is about to come. What are the challenges that we're going to face? What are the things that we're going to do? And like all those things, understanding the why will help us answer the questions like what, how. So why do we need change? Why do we, as African, as an African continent, to make Africa unite? Why do we really need change? That's the question that we really need to work on. We need to ask ourselves, because when we answer that question, we answer lots of things, not just the house, not the what, not the when, not the where. We just answer the biggest question that is there to uh, share. We answer that one by just being uh, clear about the why of the why. Understanding the question why will help us have a clear understanding of what we're doing right now, because we've been going around preparing lots of documents, talking about history, talking about heritage, talking about how great we were as African, how Alkebulan was one of the greatest nations that lived on Earth. We have tried to answer those questions. We have tried to challenge our youth, our people, to go back to history and read and understand what it is to be African, what it is to be in Africa, with all those heritages that we have. Now we've been claiming that we have heritages that were stolen from us and all those things, but there's one bigger picture and piece that I'm always missing, and that bigger picture and bigger piece that we're always missing is that what heritage are we willing to leave for our children? What are the heritages that we're leaving to our children? What is the legacy behind? We're calling out for the heritages that were stolen from us to come back, because we're still in the mentality of doing things the old way. We need to have our old stuff. We need to have what about doing the new stuff, the new thing, the new heritage that we need to leave behind? Because we cannot keep going in a vicious circle, blaming the West, blaming the thieves, blaming everyone that stole from us, and then at the end of the day, it's just pointing your finger at somebody else. Yes, 500 years of legacy, 500 years of heritage was stolen from us. Somehow, they are to blame for most parts, yet we're also to blame for the rest of the parts. It created an ego centricity in all Africa um, to be independent, separate from the entire unity of Africa. So we need to really come back to our senses and come back to understand why unity is important. We really need to understand it from that perspective. Did Africa contribute to the world values, to the world heritages? Yes, Africa did. But Africa still needs to do. Africa still needs to create heritages for the future generation that's about to come. We really need to work towards the change that is coming, because change doesn't just happen overnight. That's one thing, but change also needs preparedness, because when things change, it's not comfortable. It's either not comfortable for us nor comfortable for others too, who don't want us to change, because when we change, there's something that they're going to miss. So we're going to have to, that's where last week we discussed about this, and we said, how far are we willing to go? How far are we willing to go to change Africa? How far are we willing to go to change our status? How far are we willing to get out of poverty? Is it because what I see around me is people are giving up on, like in our country, people are giving up in Ethiopia. People are giving up in their own nations. People are giving up on on our institutions, on our systems that are not functional. And I don't blame people for giving up or not giving up. I don't blame anyone. I blame myself. What have I contributed to make it a better country? What have I done? What has everyone done? Except go to Europe and continue with the cycle of scholarships and sponsorships in the world, in the world university. So the brain drain continues in Africa. And no one is concerned about that. We want to get out of Africa. We want to get somewhere out there in the world, and then we want to change Africa. Basically, that's not going to happen. And when I say this, I'm not being pessimistic, but as long as we keep running from Africa and hoping to change Africa and expecting, because this is the harsh reality. We don't want to change Africa. We want Africa to change. This has to stop. That circle has to stop. Africa is not going to change unless we change. Unless we change our ways, or unless we change our mentality, unless we change on our mindset. Unless we work on decolonizing the mind. Africa will not change unless we change. So how do people expect to leave Africa behind and then expect Africa to change? That has to stop. That mindset has to stop. That's what I believe in. So I want you all to take a moment, whoever's viewing here, and don't forget to share, subscribe, and like this show, and share it to family members and people that you know and people that need change, and that can be changed. Because it's a volatile topic when we talk about change, because the old ways are embedded through our bloodstreams, and they have deep roots in our body, in our minds, in our thinking, and then we're stuck in the zone. Because if we're gonna keep doing this, there is a quote that I really like and enjoy that says, "If you do today what you did yesterday, you'll get today what you got yesterday. If you do tomorrow what you did today, you'll get tomorrow what you got today." There's a huge difference between doing things differently and just keeping going. Same circle again and again and again. We just keep on just being in that circle. So how do we change? And why do we change? We need to ask that question, because understanding the why will give us the solution to the questions. So if there is change that's coming, storming our way, and if we're not the ones who are changing it, because the outcome of the change can only be changed the outcome of the change that is on our way can be defined by the source of the change. If we are the source as an African, if we are the source of the change, if there is no intervention and there is no, intervention of anything, if there is no outsider involved, then the change outcome is going to be on Africa. But the outcome depends on the source of the change maker. We really need to work on that one. So we have to have that source of change, the source of change that we always have to be the ones who change Africa. We don't have to expect it to happen from other parts of the world. We have to do it ourselves. And many people don't want to work in Africa, not because they are not Africans, but because working in Africa is, like it's kind of difficult because there is no system that was created for us. We just followed a system that was just there, that was given to us by the colonizer. So we really need to work on that one. So basically, I'm here to talk about why do we desperately need this change? Is it a necessary step in One Africa? So we really need to come up with the idea of change from our own perspective. What are the things that we really need to change? So we need to have that concept of change and how to affect change. So share this link, share this show, the Swahili Nation Network show, to your friends and family and everyone that you know. Then I'm gonna just go ahead and invite people to come in and let's discuss about why we need change. Because the sooner we answer the question, then the better it's gonna be. So the topic for my show today is so this is my topic. Why change? Is it a must? So is change a must? I want to invite you all to be part of this show, and then let's just continue discussing, because I want to hear your side of the story, and then I want to come to the ideas of change, and it will give us a quick understanding of why change is important, why change is crucial. So that's one thing that we really need to work on. So why change? Why is change necessary? Why is it a must to change? So we really need to work on this one. Is it a crucial point for us right now? Is it a must? Is it an important topic? Talking about change, being agents of change, and all those things. Are these things important? Because when we understand these topics, when we understand change, when we understand all these factors, we really need to, we will come to a consensus about the importance, because the questions that were raised yesterday, last week, hit my deepest core. I felt it like, okay, so is it really important? Do we really need change? And I've been asking myself, how far are we willing to go? How far are we really willing to go to impact change in Africa? How far are we willing to go to affect change in Africa? Because if it is about money, if it's about cash flow, if it's all about just working towards being economically strong while being wealthy, because Africa remains poor, Africa remains wealthy. It's a kind of paradox for the world. So to talk about paradox, it's easy to show Africa, because Africa is the wealthiest continent on Earth, and who has 45% of the land, yet the people are poor. So what happened there? It's like we were kept in loop in an oblivion where we don't go out of our ways, because we were taught and indoctrinated that changing from those ways, diverting from those ways will affect us. So we really need to think about why we really need to change. Because as long as we talk about it, as long as we talk about change, then change has to really happen. Does Africa has potential? Definitely. Are we strong people? Yes, we are. Are we stuck? Yes, we are stuck. We're stuck in a circle that was left for us 500 years ago. They have taken everything and left us with nothing. But can we start from scratch? Yes, we can. We don't need to get stuck. We have to unstuck ourselves and get out of the system that was given to us. We have to get out of there. We really need to work towards a common goal. I believe that for me, the why of the change is that the why change question is easy because everything around us changes. It's a necessary step for African growth and development. African unity is a necessary step. Changing towards African unity will help us understand each other the way our forefathers did. Our ways are social lives. Our ways are not just individualist lives. Our ways are more of communal relationships. So we really need to go back to the source, and because to find a purpose, for a man to find a purpose, he has to go back to his creator. And the creator will give you your own purpose, because understanding why you created will just give you a solution to a question that you're asking. Why am I here? Why am I on earth? Because there is a reason that we're all born in Africa, and that's what I believe our purpose is. And this is what I believe our purpose is. We're here to change Africa. We're here to affect and impact change in African minds. We need to work towards a common goal and a common purpose where we can understand the true need, the desperate need for change. So we also touched a point where we said if we don't change, we go extinct. And when you stop being afraid, you feel good. I like this one though. It says, what you're afraid of is never as bad as what you imagine. So change is happening now. We either change with it or remain stuck. Because if we don't change, then we're stuck at that point. Because it has to be different. This time, the change that we're about to bring, the change that we're about to impact has to be different. That's what I believe in. It has to be really different. If we don't make it different, there is no point in trying to change, because many have tried, yet many have failed. Yes, we can still point fingers and saying that because of this, because of that, they failed, because of this, they failed, they were killed, they were assassinated. That's the same thing, same story is going to happen again. That's going to happen. That's what's going to come to us too. Or how far are we willing to go for it? Because when we know why we're doing this, when we know why we're struggling for change, then we will completely understand the importance of change. So we really need to work towards that. Change is happening everywhere. Change is happening around us, but we're the only ones who are not changing our ways. Sometimes it's funny when you go back somewhere, you've been there for like 10 years, 10 years later, the way the houses are built are the same. The way there's only a color change. Maybe it was blue, now it's red. It hasn't improved because we're stuck at some point. We don't like to go along with change. We have that tendency of holding on to something because they went so far that they had to sit down and create a borderline for Africans who were living and coexisting together for, I don't know, God knows how many years, but I don't want to depend on scientific explanation for that. We've been living together, and they just had to put effort in the name of faith, in the name of mission, in the name of help, in the name of friendship, trade, whatever you call it. They took their time. They took their vows. They made vows to divide and conquer Africa, and yet Africa, they did what they did to survive. But what did Africa do to survive? That's the question actually we need to ask ourselves today. We didn't do anything to survive. We're just still there. We're happy people all the time. We're just enjoying this. We love it the way it is. We need to get out of our comfort zone because life starts when you leave your comfort zone. That's what I believe. In that comfort zone, nothing is going to happen. Second you leave the comfort zone, because the second the baby is born, he was comfortable inside, he was warm inside, but the second the baby is born, that's the exact second that the screaming begins, the cry begins. The baby screams out loud because he joined a new world. He left, or she left, it left the comfort zone. We have to feel the pain. We have to channel the anger. We're not gonna, there's no point in telling this to them because they already know, they have already put their effort to it, so that to make sure that Africa remains impoverished. But why is still Africa helping them achieve their goal? By fighting with each other, by killing with each other. That's what change is all about. Unstuck. We have to be unstuck. We have to get out of this stucky situation that we're in. We need to get out of that vicious circle. Why am I really doing this? Why am I really doing this? We really need to ask that question to ourselves today. At least we owe it to our heroes. We owe it to our children and grandchildren. We're okay to let the West influence us in any way because there is somehow they're developed. They're better. No. We're just too afraid. We're just too comfortable. And there's always a prayer. It's a prayer that I will never ever pray in my life, in my country. When they see you eat something, when people see you struggle with something in life, and you complain, you say, you really need to get out of this mess I am in. I really need to get out of this condition that I'm in, this situation that I'm in. We need to tell people in Ethiopia to say, there are worse people suffering out there, and you're complaining here. I'm sorry. I will never pray that prayer. I will never say, thank you for giving me this small amount, God. Because God is big. The God that created me is big. If God is big, I have to really think bigger. I have to keep thinking big and big and big, because the one that made me big, with millions and multi-millions of possibilities in my head running every single second. So if the God that created me is the God that created me, the heavens and the earth, but I really need to come up with, I can't be contented. This ain't enough. This is not good enough. There is no good enough situation. We need to leave behind something for our grandchildren. We need to leave behind something important, something that we can call a legacy. They're safe now, because it's all about their safety. It's all about their condition. For that to happen, change is a must. Whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, we have to change. We have to adapt to a new change, a new system, a new thinking, a new world. I'm not talking about a new world order, but I'm talking about a new understanding of Africa. I think that's why we need change. We need to change because we need to get out of the system that has been imposed on us. We really need to work on that one. Because the sooner we understand that one, the sooner we understand why we need to change, the better. And the sooner we'll get to a solution. Because right now, what I believe is we're just feeding, because I don't want to share strategies of change here. I just want to share that change is important. Why change? Because whatever doesn't change goes out of market. Systems that we've been following will corrupt. Marxism failed, Leninism failed, communism, socialism, all those systems failed. And we're in a new system that is called democracy, so-called democracy. People voting for a government by the people, for the people, and from the people. At the same time, countries who are superimposing this idea of democracy, abusing those countries that they are supposed to help achieve democracy, they're abusing the economy of those countries. And this system, again, is going to keep crumbling. So every system will fail. Every philosophy will fail, because there will always be a new philosophy coming. There's going to be always a new attitude, a new look to it. So we really need to work on the change mentality. We really need to get out and get unstuck. I'm not going to say too much today. If there's anyone out there who wants to add up to the points that because it's not the amount of lecture, it's not the amount of knowledge about change that's going to change us. It's about the willpower. It's about working towards a future greater future, working for a greater future, and not abiding in our current need, current satisfaction. Every day I meet schoolmates who studied with me, and then when I ask them, they're looking for a scholarship in Belgium, Norway, Sweden, somewhere they just want to get out of. When you ask them, they want to get out of here. It's funny because who's going to change Africa? How are we going to change Africa without the people who are skilled? See, still, this is how I see it, because they changed their ways. The direct colonization, stopped. They said, we stopped direct colonization and you're free, you're independent. I mean, the French never left Africa because the French are still using the African resources so that they can live off, and still the post-colonial colonialism. That's the only thing we really need to fight physically. The French colonialism in Africa is huge, and they really need to pay us back whatever they took. I don't believe just the heritages alone. I believe that they need to compensate us for what they have taken from us. They really need. It's time for them to pay up, to pay back. But they changed. See, they changed the ways. This is how they changed the ways. They changed from forced colonization, military colonization. They changed their system to a post-colonial scholarship colonization, mind colonization, system colonization. They told us that there is a better school there. They told us that there is a better job opportunity over there. So they keep taking the smart people from Africa, the educated ones from Africa, entirely through scholarships, through education system. And then they will tell us that the people, after they leave, coming back home feels kind of weary, kind of, I don't want to go back home because if I go back home, the corruption and stuff. No, that's a lie. Yes, there is corruption because of poverty. There is corruption because of system failure, because smart people left and they never came back to develop a system for Africa. There is a system failure in Africa, whether you like it or not. The course of change is going to take us down in two directions: the positive outcome and the negative outcome. The course of change is going to help us get us unstuck, and then either that way or the other way. At the end of the day, it's two options: positive or negative impact. Change is going to do that. They change every single second. Even at this point, the war in Africa, the war in Ukraine, every point you see them changing. They're not stuck in the same old ways like World War I, World War II. They're not there. They're always editing their ways. But when you think about Africa's never editing its ways. Africa is always sitting somewhere, getting stuck somewhere, not even changing. So we really need to work on the impacts of change. How are we being answering the why? This is, I think, why it's crucial. Answering the why. So we really need to come up with a plan and a strategy to answer those questions. Why? Why do we really need to change? Why do we really need to work towards change? Because if we don't change, the storm of change that is happening in the world will affect us in one way or another, or will cripple us in one way or another. We really need to come up to a point where we understand change is important and crucial, and it has to come from us. The change has to be from within us. The Africa that we leave today, the Africa that's not comfortable today, will never be comfortable 25 years later, will never be comfortable 50 years later. When our children come from somewhere, they're going to keep talking about this one Africa concept. They're going to keep talking about this Pan-African concept. Every single generation is going to keep talking, because we give them a habit of leaving Africa, then we give them nothing. The legacy that we're leaving behind is run for your life. Run, leave everything behind and run, and don't do anything. We really need to come with a plan. What are we really teaching our children? That's an amazing question that you really need to ask yourselves. That I need to ask myself. Because if I'm not comfortable in changing the ways of Africa, in changing the ways of my country, my state, my continent, no one's going to do it for me. This is our race. This is our walk. African walk, African change. No one can do it but every African in the world. And I have said enough. I feel like I've said enough, because Marie Antoinette, year of change in our continent is fading. That's a good sign. It's the first step. Yes, true. The cold reception to the French presence on our continent is a sign. That's also true. An encouraging sign. Yes. Yes, it is true. We really need to be uncomfortable with some other country trying to be self-righteously, after robbing and leaving an empty land, still putting their military on, and then trying to control. That shows that there is a mental disorder in that nation, not in the African, in the one that is trying to tell Africa that they are the savior. You know, when you watch Hollywood movies, there's always going to be an American military saving some other nation, an American military saving some other people. That's how they branded themselves saviors. Yeah, we know that they are not the saviors, they're the destroyers. They're the reason that the world is collapsing these days. We really need to bring African change to Africa. We really need to work towards it. Yes, it is a process. But that process needs to start right now. As long as the process is unending, that's one of the challenges of Africa. When the process is unending, when the processes are too much, then we start failing. We really need to come with a plan, with an idea, with perspective. African perspective, African development path. We need to define what we want. We need to stop being afraid of uncomfortable, because a gem cannot be polished without friction. No man can be perfected without trial. Are we ready, really? Because answering the why will help us understand how much and how far we're willing to go to make a One Africa a reality. Because when we know why we're doing this, when we understand why we're doing this, then we will actually be courageous to change Africa. If we are not willing to change Africa, then we're not willing to change ourselves. We're going to be the runaways. And that's what they want us to do all the time. They want us to cower ourselves back to Europe, cower ourselves to, we just go running to Europe, go running to America, go running to Canada. Why? In the name of dollar, in the name of driving a better car, having a better house, and being a diaspora. When you come back to Africa, the government will respect you because they expect you to invest in blah, blah, all those things. We're not really ready to dust ourselves. So we're not really to go through the mud, through the dust, through the pain of the people, and understand it from that perspective and change the African perspective. We really need to start working towards a common change, a common goal, a common understanding. Whether you like it or not, change is happening. It is happening. Now, it's up to us to maneuver the change that is happening around us and take it to a positive impact. Use it to our advantage, or be used to their advantage, because they're always changing their ways. Their claws are different. We're stuck 500 years ago blaming them for what they have taken from us, yet today they're willing to take it. They're willing to give us back our heritage, give us back our ego, give us back our history, and say, yes, you're right, we were wrong about you. And come in again, one way or another. That's going to happen. They're actually willing to pay any sacrifice needed for their country, for the safety of their people, for the safety of, not safety, for the luxury of their own people. They will do anything in Africa to make sure the supply chain doesn't stop, doesn't break. But what has Africa done, and what is Africa and Africans doing? What are we doing to make sure that our people leave the uncomfortable situation and live in a comfortable environment? Hope here says, fear of change is like a disease with no cure. It looks like it. Because it pains me every single second. It hurts. really bad to think about it. How far we're willing to go, no one knows. We're not willing to sacrifice anything. We're just we have to control the change. As long as we don't control the change, then we don't control the narrative. The narrative has to be controlled. The stories have to be controlled. The things that are being told to our children, to our grandchildren, has to be controlled. Africa is the richest, the wealthiest continent. Not only that, we need to take control of the change that's happening around us. As long as the change will remain affecting us, we really need to work on that one. Change is happening. Change is going around us. It's going, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. But what are we doing about it? Sitting and crying about 500 years of the past life that happened to us and blaming why black is not beautiful, why the white people think this way, why do they do that? Because they want to survive. For God's sake, let's understand that. Let's just get off and then say, like, you want to survive. First, I have to survive. Let's not just say, like, they're doing this and they're doing that. Just because we tell them that we're nice people, we're welcoming people, we're cool people, we're not going to hurt you, that's not how it works. Survival is survival. If we're in survival mode, we have to survive. Co-survive. Coexist. Malens Bart Williams, my inspiration for Africa, actually. She said once, when she was in the TEDx show, that the world thinks that they're helping Africa. They're actually not helping Africa. Africa is helping the world. And she says, thank you, UNICEF. Thank you, WHO and WFP and all those companies, NGOs. And at the end, she says, we're not here to stop working and coexisting together. We do want to coexist with whoever is out there, as long as they want to coexist with us. Because that's the question we need to ask them, and we need to make it clear. Are you going to accept coexistence, or are you going to still infiltrate and destroy our continent and our people and keep us fighting so that you can keep stealing? We need to make that clear for them, because it's our ground. We got nothing to lose, to be honest. I mean, I have nothing to lose if I die for this cause. I can't say about you, I can't say about anyone who's viewing this show, but I can say for sure that if my dying is what it takes, me struggling and fighting for this cause is what it takes, and I'll fight for it. I'll struggle for it. I'll die for it. Because the death of Martin Luther King Jr. didn't stop the African American in America to struggle and to continue to struggle. I mean, isn't it a simple logic to see what Africans are going through in the United States of America, the great continent, the country where democracy is properly practiced? In that country, Africans are suffering these days just because of their skin color. There's something dangerous about that skin color. It's not just a gun. It's not about the gang members and all those things. And the funny thing that actually terrifies me most is the Africans shooting Africans. It's so interesting, right? Because in no African country, they never said, let's use these weapons so that let's go back to England and let's tell the British that it's a payback time. We're coming for you. No African country said that. I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just trying to put an example. But whatever the British sells for us, whatever kind of weaponries we receive from the British or from the Americans or from the Russians, we use it on our own brothers and sisters. They created the worst version of us. It's time to change that, all that. We really need to work on working towards the outcome. I'm going to share the live stream link here, and anyone is interested, you can come in and join and share your opinion with me. I don't want to stay long today. I just want to give you an assignment of how far are you willing to go, all of you. Why is this change important to us? Why is it necessary? Because as long as we don't answer that question, we will remain puzzled and always puzzled. Change is happening. You like it or not. This is what I said when I was writing. There's change in progress. It's up to us to decide to be affected positively or negatively. Completely our choice. You see, if you're not up for it, the least you can do is step out of the way so that change can take place. Because they were willing to die for it, they were willing to kill for it, they were willing to do anything for it, but we're not willing to do anything for it, actually. We're willing to leave Africa for it. Because we've become that selfish person in the world, so that's the only thing we think about. We want to leave. We want to walk out of here. The world is changing. The world is evolving. Every day, there's technological advancement somewhere in the world. There's a bus being driven without a driver. Everything automated. connected through the internet. But when you come to Africa, it's another story. It's not that we don't have them, it's just we're not up to date with them because we didn't invent them. We have become the consumer, and we have that consumer mentality. We buy the car, we don't produce it. We don't appreciate someone who's producing it because we prefer the European vehicle, the European way of dressing. We consider, you see, that's where we decolonize the mind. We really need to start thinking about us. If there's anyone out there who wants to join the show, you can just come in and we will talk about this. Because the change that's happening around us is going to affect us in positive or negative ways. It depends which side we're standing at. If we're just going to let it be, let it affect us. The food industry, you see millions of liters, millions of metric cubic meters, liters or tons of feed and food is being dumped somewhere in Canada or somewhere in the United States. Apple is being thrown away. Bananas are thrown away. Avocados, mangoes, every fruit is thrown away. Yet in Africa, where there is land which can grow banana, apple, avocado, papaya, we import apple. It's almost a luxury. We import it, for example, in Ethiopia, we import it from South Africa. So, but people don't even for a second think about buying apple. This is very expensive. But when you think about it, we have the land, we have the potential to produce it here. Still, no one wants to do that. No one wants to challenge their ultimate potential. It's just going to depend on the country that has already exploited its potential. If Kenya can secure, if South Africa can secure apple, if Ethiopia can secure banana or avocado or papaya, if some other country can do that, if there was an interstate trade relationship between different states in Africa, that's the first step. Business, buying from one another, instead of that's it. Just let's buy from at least one another. Let's appreciate one another's culture. Let's love one another. Peace, love, stability. Let's show to the world that we are not who they portrayed us to be. We are far, far beyond what they think they know. The sooner we understand that, the better things are going to be. I'm going to wait for 5 minutes for users to join in, viewers to join in, and if not, I'm going to end my broadcast. I'm going to leave you with an assignment. Of answering the question why we need change. And I want you to ask everyone around you if you're working ask people around you in your company. People don't like change. It's uncomfortable. It's like I tried to explain last week, when a woman is pregnant, when the baby starts growing inside her belly, she starts losing comfort in wearing trousers or tight clothes. She has to start dressing up in a different way. So we really need to look to it from that perspective too. Then she doesn't wear high heel shoes because it's not safe for the baby. Change is not always comfortable. Change is not going to be always easy. It's not a walk in the park, but it's worth it. It's about the worth, not the comfort. We have to stop thinking about our comfort. Look at Nelson Mandela. He left his wife, his family, went to prison for 27 years, came back divorced because there was an ideological difference between him and his wife. He made the ultimate sacrifice for South African people. The ultimate. He lost what was supposed to make him comfortable. But when you see to South Africa today, his fight counts. People have the freedom to speak, freedom to be in the parliament. Still, there's always a struggle in African countries trying to be overtaken by the white folks living in there. The businesses are controlled by white people and everything. This is where a country dies. If the business of food industry, for example, growing crops, farming, any kind of farm, if they're provided to the Westerns, they still control. They're still in charge. But it isn't anything we can do but depend on them. So we need to depend on ourselves, depend on each other. Kenya should depend on Ethiopia. Ethiopia should depend on Djibouti. Djibouti should depend on Eritrea. Eritrea should depend on Sudan, and this is how it should continue. But that's not the way it's being done now. We're too afraid. We show our cowardice by running away, leaving Africa behind. Why do we have to leave Africa behind? And if not us, who's going to change Africa for us? Who is going to? We need to get past the point that the leaders that are sitting in African parliaments these days are not leaders that came from heaven. They came from our community. If our community runs away from change and changing Africa, then our leaders are going to do the same because they came from that same community that brought you up, brought me up. We were raised in that community. We were raised to think that way. We were raised to think in cowardice, to believe in cowardice. We really need to work towards that one. So I'm going to leave an assignment for you. Ask your friends, ask your family members, why is one Africa important? Why is one Africa really important? And who's going to make it a reality for us? Our children, our great grandchildren. I bet if we continue on down this path and we keep only talking, not affecting and impacting, 20 years from now, when I am old and I couldn't do this anymore, or when I'm dead, somebody else is going to come and discuss the same thing. When are we going to change? It's like being left in an oblivion. It's like this is the thing that's called living hell. This living hell idea is living in an vicious circle. We really need to work on that. All right. Okay. That's it for me. If there's anyone who's interested to come in, I've been waiting for anyone to join in. If you're not going to join in, then I'm going to end it here. And I'm going to close it with prayer and get prepared for another topic for next week. But bear this in mind, take it with you. There is change in progress. It's up to us to decide to be affected positively or negatively. Completely our choice. We're not going to, I'm sorry to say this, after 10 years and 15 years, if I'm alive and if I see that there isn't a single progress and somebody gets up and says, they did this to us, I'm going to laugh my ass off because we quit. We did this to us. The change that we're pursuing has to happen. It has to happen in every aspect of our lives, in our Luna! In every aspect of our life. Our life has to be changed. Our mentality has to be changed. Everything that we do in regards to change has to change itself. We have to be tolerant of our diversity in religion, in ethnic groups, in colors, in cultures, appreciating each other's cultures and using it to our own benefit. Imagine we have 1,000 cultural shows, and for one show, just to see for one person, if you make it a tourist attraction, you can generate money. Let's say one person pays $10 to watch every cultural show, and we have 1,000. That's $10,000. Imagine 10,000 people coming. It will help us grow our culture and the tolerance that we grow towards the culture and the diversity. We start appreciating. When we change it into a benefit, we start appreciating what we have. But now they tell us what to do, which one is important, even the ways that no one asked. No one sat down and asked the question, are our ways really that bad? Or we just believe them? No one asked this question. everyone had their reasons to do what they did. Not everything that we did was good. But we just believed them just because they told us it's not good. We really need to work on that one. All right. I'm going to close it from here. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this discussion. Help us be the change and be the change of the African change that we're expecting, the new Africa that we're expecting. Help us become those agents of change. In Jesus' name we pray. I want to play the change video before I close, and I want to end it with that one.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? I'm so glad to come back here, and for some reason today I feel this energy and I just want to talk about change, man. I posted something earlier today and this is what I said. If you forget about everything, just remember this one thing, that sometimes you might not get to see the change you want unless you change. Insanity is doing the same thing while expecting a different result. You cannot see a different result if you keep doing the same thing. I was kind of like thinking about Africa and the things that we always talk about and we're struggling with. And you guys know that it's a lot of them we can talk about. Leadership, corruption, economic dependence, tribalism. We can talk about all those issues. There's so many things that we're struggling with. And maybe you might be tired hearing all these issues all the time, but you know, we have to talk about them. We have to address them. You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of people who do not know what Africa is going through, wants to cover the issues that Africa is facing. And as the Swahili Nation One Africa, our job is to address them. Brutally be honest with ourselves in order to solve the problem. You cannot solve the issue if you don't know the source and what the problem is. The change that we expect to happen in our country, in our government, societies and communities, in our companies, whatever the change that you want, even in your life when you go to personal level, whatever the change you want to see, you have to know that you have to change. This is something that we act towards. If you want to see something change, then you have to change. Because sometimes the thing that you wanted to change is not an issue, but the issue is how you see it. And if you don't change your perspective, then you're going to keep seeing it negatively, right? That's how you will see it. So sometimes in order to change the situation and the negativity around you is by you becoming positive. If you become positive, you will see positive. Even if there's a negative things, but your mind will always direct you, will always elaborate things, will always lead you back to the positiveness, you know what I'm saying? Because that's where you are at the moment. And the change that we want to see in Africa can only happen if we do change. So instead of sitting down here and talking about change, I will go out and actually be the change that Africa needs. Hashtag Proud African, right? It's very easy for people to complain, to give up, right? Because you don't have to put on effort. It's very easy to lose hope. It's very easy to do that, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to care. If you care much, you're going to get hurt. You don't want to love, because if you love much, you might be betrayed, you know what I'm saying? So it's better to be on the other side of negativity. It's very easy to be the side of negativity than positivity, because if you want to be the side of positiveness, then you have to put on effort. And a lot of people these days, they don't want to put effort. So that's why they end up giving up. But this is a message for you, that you are the only one who can change the situation. You can change it. I don't want to put God in this, because I believe that God has already given us ability and mind to think to elaborate and to do things. He already given us that. We already have permission. As long as you're alive, that means you still have a job to do, right? The day I die, that means I'm done. I'm finished. Right? My mission is done. But as long as I'm alive, it's because I still have something to do. So you already have that permission. But how do you go out and work on that? How do you use the opportunity? Because life is an opportunity that God has given you and me. How do you take advantage of that opportunity to actually bring about change? How do you do that? And that's the question that I want you guys to think about today. And if you can, let me know in the comment section. And when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about there's a lot of things you don't like, right? Well, you can change it. As long as you see the problem, you have a solution. Things that you don't like it, I mean, you cannot love anything, everything. You cannot like everything, but there are things that can be changed. And if there's something you don't like, you cannot keep complaining because it's insane, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. It's insanity. So you need to change. And how can you bring about change, right? To whatever situation that you see. So you can take perspective of your country, right? Things that you're struggling with. I love this one quote I saw on Twitter the other day, and I just had to retweet it because it was really well written. And she wrote this on her bio. She wrote, "Love for your country doesn't mean love for the president or for the leader. Ask yourself how you can contribute to your country." And it reminds me what, love for your people or for Africa, it doesn't mean that you have to love leader or whatever that disappoints you, because a lot of time we've been hiding under the shadow of, this government is not doing anything. There's so much corruption. No matter what we do, we're not going to be able to change. Well, love for your country doesn't mean that you have to love that leader who is screwing things up every single day. Ask yourself, how can you contribute? And it's kind of like I'm coming from that point of view, that how can you take advantage of the opportunity, the life you have, to bring about change? Because as long as you're alive, as long as you see there's issues, that means you have a solution. And you just need to figure out how can you figure out the solution. And our job here in Southern Africa, it's actually to stir up the fire, right? So you might say that you guys are talking too much of this and that, but our job is to remind each other, to remind that, we can actually bring about change. We might not bring the solution sometimes because we don't have solution to every issue that is going on, right? But you guys, you have it, because you guys are going through, we are going through, and when we come together as one Africa, think about it, talk about it, I'm telling you, there's high chance, and I'm confident 100% that we're going to bring about change. That's why I want to reach university students, I want to reach all the students who will actually bring change to the next generation as soon as possible. So let me know, guys, in the comment section what you're thinking, what's your idea, what's your thoughts. And I think this will be an amazing time for you guys to motivate me as well and to inspire me. So I'll be checking on your comments and maybe we'll come up with something. I appreciate, guys. I love you. Be the change Africa needs. Proud of you. Love you.